have here Dracula Presley.
Hey. Good morning-ish here on the East Coast.
Good
How you
afternoon.
doing?
I hope you and GM as well.
It must be GM somewhere, it's like they say.
It's always GM somewhere. This great big globe of ours keeps spinning. And I hope wherever you are, audience, you're having a GM as well. Hope you're hanging in there. Hope you enjoyed this week. What about you, Dracula? It's Friday. You enjoy your week so far? Been nice, productive?
Yeah, pretty productive. Doing the later show. I was running a little late. Apologies to everyone for that, but you get when we do the earlier show, it's like I'm still kind of like I wake up, I'm checking charts, I'm drinking coffee. The later show, I'm like, I'm gonna go out and get a chicken sandwich first. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's been a good week. We've had a little bit of a market rebound. Sentiment is shifting a little bit. Look at that Bitcoin weekly chart.
Wow.
We're going up against the big resistance right here. Yeah, we need to hopefully we'll see what happens here after the close this weekend. But yeah, we get a good weekly close above that. I think it's back on. I think we're just I think the market's adjusting to the tariff stuff.
Well, there's a lot of other stuff going on now. We got a war on our hands. We got India and Pakistan threatening to dehydrate each other, cut off water supplies.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this, Drac. I don't know if our audience knows, but they got nuclear weapons. I'm not trying to make you scared or anything, but I am trying to let you know that there is increasing global instability. So do not be surprised if the markets get shocked.
Well, it's like we always joke around about how like there's people that just say everything's priced in. So what does it mean if the war in India and Pakistan is priced in? What does it mean if the number is going up?
That means the war is good for business.
I don't know what that means, right? Usually like the threat of war, we're like tanking. But no, I mean, as usual, just a bunch of scary macro stuff going on. But it seems like the market is just, when I say the market, I'm mostly talking about crypto because if you have friends in traditional finance, they're still losing their minds right now pretty much. But yeah, like I said, we've had this interesting week where could go on and on about how like, yeah, Bitcoin, we're tied to the stock market now. It's over. There's never going to be that like decoupling, but we're just having this really interesting week where it is kind of like the crypto market's just kind of like its own little thing this week while the world's burning. So definitely interested to see.
I want to get your opinion on this. So I got an idea about like this decoupling of the traditional markets from crypto. It's like I don't think there's like any kind of coupling inherently. Like if you're like a gold mining company and like the price of gold, like you're coupled pretty tightly. I would imagine, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's more so like a psychological coupling.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of reason why like asset prices in the stock market should affect crypto prices, except for maybe like Nvidia or something. But like it's more of like when people see the stock market going down, they're like, oh well, fuck, I'm out of crypto.
Everything.
Like if this is going down, where the hell is going to happen to my ICP? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's true. Like, I mean, it does kind of raise a good point that when you look at it that way, it is mostly a psychological, coupling. I think that, ties into, there being so much money in ETFs already for Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think that maybe it is more of a psychological thing where you're kind of like, hey, I have my 401k and I got this and I got that and Bitcoin's part of that. So when I'm selling everything, I'm selling my Bitcoin too. But yeah, I mean, it is interesting to see where I view it kind of like a few years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, where on top of having the Bitcoin Ethereum cycles where, if Bitcoin was up, Ethereum was down and vice versa, you would kind of have like traditional market cycles too, where when something bad macro wise happened, people actually went to buy Bitcoin. And
Yeah.
that's what really has me interested right now is I feel like that's the first time, and I could be wrong, I'm not like basing this off data at this moment, but I feel like this week in particular just kind of felt like it's the first time in a long time where I've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was like, oh yeah, like the world's bad, so we're gonna put money in crypto, which I mean, hey, to me, that's it's not the worst reason to do it. I was watching White Lotus season 3. I haven't finished it yet, so no spoilers. But there's a guy in this third season that, he's like doing like financial crimes, and they call him, and they're like, his lawyer calls him, and he's like on a vacation basically, and he's like, yeah, this is bad. Like, if your assets aren't frozen, they're about to be frozen.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hey, guess whose tether can't get fucking frozen? You can't freeze my assets when I'm on the run in Thailand.
Yeah, dude.
So,
what you did in Bhutan with the government of Bhutan, they can't freeze you, dude. That's what's so epic about crypto.
Yeah, they can't touch my tether or my Bitcoin. So something to think about there. But I mean, that's also talking about like if there could be like a decoupling or not. I mean, it's especially fascinating to me when you look at Bitcoin ETFs. It took less than 12 months. Bitcoin ETFs are the largest holder of Bitcoin, period. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, I can see where, if it is more of a psychological effect, it's strong. I mean, because it's wrapped up in all this TradFi stuff now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, it was, I love to see it. Personally, it's nice to see something happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's kind of nice to see, again, kind of like this Bitcoin push at a point when everyone else is still kind of like scared out of traditional markets. But what about like, is this crypto wide, or is this just Bitcoin only? You got the dominance chart. Like, I'm afraid to look at we haven't looked at dominance in a while. I feel like dominance is got to be outrageous right now.
That's not going to be nice to look at because, in fact,
90% dominance Bitcoin.
Dominance is at all-time high, basically, for this market scenario. 60, almost 65%. So you can no longer. It's like we've been talking about for a long time. I think it truly is coming into play where we're entering a new era where I don't think there's going to be as much of like the Bitcoin does this, alts do that, vice versa. It's just going to be kind of like alts can do their thing based on their merits or how many people are holding, or maybe if there is like too much dominance, people will start to flow into it. But I think we're in a very different landscape now than being able to watch the dominance chart and say, okay, we're just going to watch the Bitcoin dominance. When it hits its new all-time high, the dominance will peter. Then we get alt season. I think I don't know if that's happening again. I could be wrong. I don't think Bitcoin is topped out for this cycle. I think we still have a all-time high left at least. So it'll be interesting to see when that does happen. If Bitcoin makes a new all-time high and finally does kind of settle, but it really is starting to feel like, because while that's happening in the traditional, having run-ups and everything, you even with that happening, you still kind of have like the teeter-totter. It gets a leg up and then it chills out, then Ethereum and alts rip, and then, it kind of has this teeter-totter effect, and it's like you just haven't really seen that during this Bitcoin run-up since like the halving action. So I will say, let's see. Suvlaki, welcome. Says stables are getting a slightly different use case. In the future, perhaps we should start looking at it as Bitcoin versus stables. I really agree with that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And I'm seeing a lot of chatter going in that direction. Like a lot of big brain people, a lot of people that, I like reading their longer form stuff. You are seeing it as like a conversation of what is Bitcoin doing versus stables, not so much what is Bitcoin doing versus Ethereum or alts. It is a thing. I mean, it's stables. I mean, let's look at the chart real fast. I mean,
You can maybe add. I
You got
think
to
you
look
can
at it like this, Tether, you know, nothing beats Tether besides Ethereum,
Yeah. Could you check the USDC box as well?
Yeah, let's see what that is.
Pathetic.
I mean, Tether Chad's still on top, but I don't know if you have a lot of stables. I just don't know if you want to hold a. Well, I'm not going to say that because that'll really cost. All right, anyway. No, I was just going to say that. Yeah, I mean it's true. Like I can see the argument shifting to. It's almost like what is Bitcoin doing versus stable tokens? It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's the most interesting liquidity in the space is in the stable coins, right? Because it's like that's the that's like the entry point for most people entering the system.
Yeah,
Oh
for
my,
sure. And
owns 10% of Juventus. Only the mafia can beat them now. Uh-oh.
Oh man, yeah, it's true. But I mean, that doesn't mean that the alts and Ethereum still don't have their runs and everything else. I mean, look at Sonic right now. We on the daily, we reclaimed the moving average. We just busted above a big resistance, and it looks like we're going to close above that resistance, which is great because this 50-cent area is just such like a psychological, such a psychological zone for Sonic, Phantom, whatever. So you always see a lot of infighting right here, because this is kind of like the zone where bulls and bears are like, making their case right now. So it's good to see us reclaim, solid over 50 cents. I'm hoping, I mean, if we continue to have money flowing in to crypto just from people saying, hey, I feel more comfortable, maybe shifting some more funds to crypto with the traditional market being so wild right now. Hopefully this is just the beginning.
Yeah, I think especially with like Bitcoin or wrap Bitcoin opportunities becoming more available in Sonic, and with all the stablecoin opportunities, we can kind of capture this momentum into the ecosystem. I think is the plan, is the hope, and it seems like it's going all right. Whether that plays out into price action, I'm not qualified to say. I am qualified to say this though: it has been ranging from 50 to 54 cents. And I'm keeping my eye really closely on that. I got a nice long. I opened up at 47 Drac.
Oh, let's go.
But I can only get 5 times leverage on it on my platform I use. So if you guys know anywhere else where I can get a 50 times, 100 times leverage, let me know.
Pathetic. 5% leverage. What is this?
Yeah, it's leverage for ants, dude.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Sue Vlocky. If you're looking at my chart, I finally pulled it off the MEXC. So we're on Binance now.
Is that okay. That's why I like so much meter.
Yeah. We got that Binance liquidity now. So looking much better.
That's CZ's mercy now.
Yep,
well,
that's right.
We want to look at this. I'll have it up already. We want to check out some more Sonic stats specifically. We got the
let's take a look.
We got our DeFi Llama stats up here, holding steady over a billy, with Sonic generating or Shadow generating an insane amount of fees here on the daily.
Wow. Okay, so zoom in here a little bit.
All right.
Let's see here.
Does that make it? Is that better?
Yeah, I think so. So look at this, man. Shadow. What was that? 75,000 in 24 hours, something like that.
Yeah, 65,000.
Wow. And then you got Beethoven, SwapX. Now, what's the fourth one there? I don't. What's that say? Is that? Oh, it's Snake Finance. Wow.
Snake Finance.
So that's kind of like a Tomb Fork, but it has like some extra mechanics.
I was going to ask, what exactly is Snake Finance? We know these first 3 are dexes. What does Snake Finance do?
I mean, it's basically has like the main elements of like a Tomb Fork, where it's like, it's supposed to be pegged to. Now I can't remember if Snake has it pegged to S or if it's pegged to $1. I can't remember which one, but Tomb Fork mechanics. But then they have these they have this mechanic to claim your rewards, because that's part of the thing on Tomb Forks is they always have really high APR and everything, and you're going for those degen yields. So part of their thing is to claim your rewards. You have to kind of like pay in a certain like a fee, but that's paid in like raw S. You know what I mean? So pretty interesting to see that. I mean, they're generating pretty good revenue off that.
Yeah, I mean, 15 grand a day is nothing to shake a stick at. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
not bad. Yeah, I mean that's impressive.
Yeah, and then again, we come back to total value lock 2.1 billion. Let's come back to this one here, actually. So let me change my filters to match yours, dude. So we're gonna so slow. Let's get rid of liquid staking, double count, borrows, and staking.
Let's do it. There it
So
goes.
we're just looking at flat TVL here, and Sonic over a billion, 1.036, just behind Aptos. And we're coming for Avalanche. I think Avalanche is the one I want to top the most, dude. I want to flip.
Yeah, it's like a matter of principle. Obviously, Polygon and Hyperliquid, those felt pretty good the pass, but yeah, it's like I said before, it's like this zone, like 9 to 12. It's very competitive right there. So I mean, I could, Sonic could move into the top 10 fairly easy right here. Then you got to kind of shift gears to get ready for, the big boys. But hey, we keep going the way we're going, bust into that top. Maybe we get the 10 or 9. Andre maybe drops a new project. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I could see us moving up there some.
We keep bringing these new products into the system. Andre maybe launches something. Maybe Dracula launches something. Heck, maybe I launch something. Dude, maybe you watching at home launch something, because you know what? It's getting cheaper and cheaper every single day, dude. You know why? Dude, this is an excellent transition. I fucked up because of FEM, dude. Because of FEM. This might be the juice we need to take it to the next level, right? Because
now this is interesting. So FEM Vault. So is it what they're doing is like they're kind of like, are they like going for yield now with like the FEM as well?
So 90% of the fees flow to the FEM vault from key token contracts. So what this is going to do is just help grow the ecosystem some more. It's essentially just another ecosystem fund that they're capturing from FEM and putting in a vault. I don't know exactly how they're farming it, like where the yields may be coming from, but it's an interesting development, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Like if it's sitting there and it's idle, put it to work. Like speaking of like Beethoven, Beethoven's had like several kind of like experiments over the years with that, where it's like, hey, the money's just sitting in a liquidity pool. Why don't you have it earning yield while it's in there? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think it's a good idea.
I've got the hiccups now. Apologies. It's going to kill me. But yeah, I think that's a pretty cool one. Again, shows to me Sonic is committed to the Sonic Labs team is committed to reinvesting in the ecosystem, and they're really exploiting FEM as much as possible, which I kind of dig.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, like we've said many times, it's like there were some kind of like doubters on like FEM. I'm gonna swap this for 1 second, but yeah, like we're heading towards 1 million S being paid out in FEM at this point. And it's only getting more popular by the day. Because like I said, there was definitely kind of like some doubt at the beginning and this and that. Like, oh, is it even going to be worth anything? But yeah, we've seen that it can be worth some serious revenue for your project. Look at Sakura up here, Shadow, all these top 10. That's like nothing to turn away. That's for sure. You know what I mean? That's just for having your project on Sonic. I mean, that's all you got to do. I think I noticed that if I saw it right, I believe that they also, before you kind of had to go through this like approval process, and now they've done it on the contract level, I think, where you can just pop in some code on your contracts, and you fill out a brief thing, and it's pretty much all just like automated.
That's awesome. I didn't know it was automated yet. I talked to Sam I think last or maybe the week before, and he was talking about getting it automated as the next big step for it. So huge. So yeah. Oh, Suvlaki's clarifying the fee vaults for contracts of tokens the lab owns. They would still be eligible for them, so making sure they get allocated to someone and not. Okay, that makes sense. So it's like instead of the labs just claiming the fees, these hiccups are killing me. It's kind of being put in the vault to maybe redistribute at a later date. Now, I also want to talk a little bit about Layer 3. Do you know about Layer 3? Because
I'm not familiar.
So it seems like to me what Layer 3 is kind of like just like more quests to do.
Okay.
Right.
Kind of like a Zeely or
use Sonic, use Stargate, bridge to Sonic, and you win like little points and cubes and stuff. The thing I did basically was just the first one. The first one here where you activate your cube to claim rewards. But you can see we've got a lot of layers of incentives to try and encourage activity on the network here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious. I hopefully this translates into long-term activity, because I'm always concerned with these kinds of campaigns that you get people whose whole thing is just doing these campaigns, right? Where like I'm not a Sonic user, an Avalanche user. I'm a Layer 3 user. You know what I mean? Like
you do get that, yeah. I did have that once with Zeely, where like I got talked into trying to do a Zeely campaign, and had these guys kind of help like run it and everything. And the campaign went fine. It did what it was supposed to do, but it was interesting because it was like it had like its own, like Zeely itself just had like its own community where they're just sitting there waiting for the next thing to come up so they can go get prizes and money and everything else. He says Drac's a pro at keeping a straight face between Corval's hiccups.
It's killing me, dude. I'm not sound.
Now this is interesting here. Suvlaki and Fallout Zone are talking in the chat here. Suvlaki says, what happened to our shards? Fallout Zone saying, aren't they coming in June with the airdrop or something? I really don't know. All I've seen is that there is something that comes from the shards. I think it might just be a add on to your airdrop or a multiplier or something. But I'm not positive. We need to find out.
We need to get the assistant on here and put his feet to the fire.
Yeah, the day the assistant's not here, we have an actual question we need answered.
Be sure to spam the chat next time he comes on and ask where the shards are. Okay? God, I'm not going to survive this day, am I?
You're going to make it.
The last thing I got here for Sonic, shout out to Luis. Couldn't be here today. He put together this excellent set of notes where you're actually getting informed as opposed to just hearing me go on and on. But Kraken is going to introduce Sonic trading now. They're finally on board, dude. They finally migrated from Phantom to Sonic. How's it make you feel? Drac. First exchange I ever used.
Yeah, I mean, Kraken's a big one. And from what I hear, like Kraken's actually pretty difficult in terms of like when it comes to like US regulation and compliance and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of like Kraken actually has a pretty big audience, or like people that are kind of like loyal to it just because like they feel like, compared to maybe Coinbase or Gemini or, whatever, they're a lot stricter with like their assets and like what comes in and, what people can trade and all that stuff. So yeah, Kraken is a big one. Excited to see that. It's saying, if you're holding FTM on Kraken, it'll get automatically migrated to S. No action needed. But yeah, I think that's pretty big news, really. Like,
I think it's a big one.
Yeah.
Sorry again about these hiccups, dude. It's like I got a clinical condition here, dude. Like, what is happening? It's painful. A painful hiccup, dude. Anyway,
it sounds like it hurts.
Moving on. If anyone has a hiccup remedy, let me know too. I've been trying a couple here in between. But anyway, sorry for distracting. This is an interesting one, I think. I think there's a lot of things to be said about this. Charles Hoskinson says Ethereum may not survive the next 10, 15 years. 15 years.
Wow.
Bro, okay. Dude, Cardano, what does Cardano do, dude?
Yeah, I was about to say, it's like if Ethereum's not here, Cardano's definitely way gone.
Cardano barely exists as it is now, dude.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess, this could be taken out of context considering that he says, without major changes. And we were just talking to him on Tuesday about some of these things. Vitalik's, proposing. But yeah, I mean, interesting sentiment. Yeah, it's like, what is Cardano gonna fare much better without some serious upgrades and changes? But he likes to beef, and they actually were pretty gracious with this photo of him. What is this? This is like his LinkedIn photo or something. So that's kind of Cointelegraph.
Yeah, it doesn't look as creepy as it usually does.
Yeah. But I'm curious what he believes are the architecture flaws. I get the governance issues because I don't know if anyone remembers this, but when Ethereum first came out, governance and DAOs and all this stuff was such a big thing, big meta, and that's when you could just like launch a token with nothing but it's a token and you can vote with it. You know what I mean? So there have been complaints over the years that maybe they need to redo this governance system. I don't know. It's interesting because like we were also talking about, Ethereum has kind of shifted its mindset to not really being about Ethereum as an asset as much as like, oh, like what is Ethereum doing as like a company, like an organization. So it is kind of interesting to me that like they still are, doing these like, governance decisions and all this stuff. Because what's the reality? I mean, the reality is most of the time, the people with the most governance tokens are either part of the foundation, related to the foundation, or aligned with the foundation. So it's like, maybe you just go ahead and get rid of all this governance anyway and stop acting like it makes a difference. But
I always thought governance was so silly, and it seemed to me like the most like, I don't know, like Ethereum or like Vitalik is such a young guy, and it seemed like such a young person's idea of like how you could run a system to be fair, but it's like it has the same exact pitfalls and like none of the protections of like typical governance systems. But let's look back at like what Hoskinson actually said about Ethereum. So he says, I don't think Ethereum will survive more than 10 to 15 years. The layer 2s will continue to suckle out all the alpha. Suckle.
Yeah, okay.
Weird choice. And it'll get harder and harder for Vitalik to be able to hold together through sheer force of will. So they have to find a way to have layer 2s not be parasitic. And then he says they have the wrong accounting model, the wrong virtual machine, and the wrong consensus model. But he does praise them going to Risk V, which is, I think we talked about this a little bit last week. It's like what, like another programming language or something?
Well, yeah, it's another virtual machine, and yeah, it would have more of a focus on like the Move programming language. But yeah, I mean, kind of what he's talking about up here is kind of like what's interesting, that this is kind of like what you're seeing with like this shift that they're having, which is what we were discussing on Tuesday, was the language is starting to shift more to like, let's spruce up layer 1, not as much talk about, the L2s make us money. So I think we're seeing that kind of in real time. And I mean, yeah, because they do have all this governance and everything else, these kind of changes take a long time to get implemented, but I think we're kind of seeing that in real time. Now, I don't think that means that L2s are over. And I don't think that means that, I mean, look at things like Arbitrum, in terms of like their TVL and, everything else in their apps. And it's like, I don't think you're going to see those guys fall to the wayside or anything. But I do think that you might start seeing L2 expansion slow down greatly. You might start, I think we'll get to the point, especially if they do make these upgrades, there probably won't be any more L2s. Maybe some of the L2s that are kind of middle of the road decide we're going to shift to an L1 or, whatever. But I'll be interested to see that for sure.
Ethereum trying to shuck off these leeches, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's that, they started the L2s as more like a scaling solution because, that's when like Ethereum gas was like $100 to, approve a TX or, whatever. Then that kind of solved the scaling problem. So then they said, well, what do we do now? Well, now we're going to make money off it. But yeah, I mean, we're seeing that it is hurting the network. So he is right about that. And I think he's right about the governance. There are some things that I think that if they're going to make these upgrades to the Ethereum layer 1, probably a good time to just say, we're not really going to have any more votes. We're just going to kind of tell you what's happening. We're not really going to do, we're not going to go through all this stuff anymore. Cause I mean, yeah, it does feel like it's pointless and it just wastes time,
Yeah, it's about time for Vitalik to seize his place as the czar of Ethereum. But yeah, we got anything else we want to talk about today? These hiccups are freaking whooping my ass.
No, I think we pretty much covered it all today. I think we got it.
Oh, I wanted to announce the winners.
Oh, this is big right here.
Yeah, so Dream S and Selick himself will be joining us in Vienna on my dollar.
Wow.
Drawing. And they're coming to Vienna, dude. So I'm excited to see them in Vienna. Hopefully I see some more of you in Vienna. It's going to be a fun time. I think Drac, are you going?
I'm still planning on going right now. So I got to get all my stuff booked. I'm kind of like procrastinating on that. It's a long trip from the East Coast, the southeast of the U.S. Long trip. But yeah, I feel like I'm going. It's kind of hard to resist, everyone's out there. There's a lot of shows, and I do go to a good bit of the shows in the U.S. I'm going to go to Permissionless in New York in June. But something about it, kind of the whole thing is like Sonic centric, so I kind of am like, man, I think I'm going to feel bad if I miss it. So, these other shows, all the other chains are there and everybody's doing things. And this is kind of unique. It's all about Sonic. It's all people building on Sonic or people that want to build on Sonic. So, yeah, if you have a way to get to Vienna, you should go. It's coming soon. Week and a half, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to be planning the future of Sonic there and who's going to be making all the money in the coming years. So if you don't have a seat at the table,
yeah, come out there. Yeah, stake your claim, join the cabal. We'll see if we can get you in on some of this insider deals.
That's right. And someone smuggle Stinky in.
Yeah, I'll bring you Stinky. I got you. I'll vouch for you. So
what a shame. Fallout Zone. Maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe they'll do this every year. I guess we have to see how it goes. But they got a lot of stuff planned. A lot of people speaking, a lot of events. Sounds like it's gonna be pretty good. So I'm hoping that maybe they do this every year. Maybe next year they'll do it in like somewhere on the East Coast of the U.S. where it's nice and easy to go to.
Yeah, maybe they should do it in Boston or dude, they should do it in Nashville, bro.
Do it in Nashville and just mostly just think about what I have to go through to get there when you plan all this stuff, and that I'd appreciate it. That'd be nice.
Yeah, me too. I'm seconding it. So yeah, Sonic Nashville next year, please.
But oh yeah, there's gonna be a pop-up. Oh yeah, Sonic Summit Tijuana. I'm with it. But yeah, that's all we got today. We will be back Tuesday, and hope everyone has a good weekend. Hopefully we keep seeing green, have some green closes on Sunday. so that Tuesday we can come back and say we're about to blast off. So we will see you then. And remember, if you need to get to Vienna, you could still probably just DM Corval, and he might just give you the money anyway. Since he can't talk right now. So anyway, we'll see you next week. Adios.
See y'all.
GM Sonic is Corval and Dracula Presley. GM.